Hey everyone, I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Cody.
and this is Paisley, and we're the Barn Burner Trio.
Yeah. So we should probably just talk about how we met first, because we have a pretty unique story.
Yeah, that's the reason that we're making this channel is we think that one, people will find it interesting, and two, it might really help some people that they could be in our situation as well. He's from Canada,
And she's from the U.S.
and we're engaged, and we're moving to Mexico. And the reason we're moving to Mexico has to do with our visa not going through and COVID-19 and yeah, we can't live together in the US because nothing's coming through, and I can't go to Canada because Canada doesn't want Americans right now, or anyone for that matter, because of COVID-19. Okay, so we are both gamers,
Yeah.
and we met playing on Xbox Live, Call of Duty,
Yeah.
Black Ops
3, I
3,
think was the first one we. Wait. No, 4. Black Ops 4.
Black Ops 4,
Yeah.
Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Okay, well, not Alcatraz.
No, that was what we played a lot of.
Freaking love Alcatraz. Yeah, so we met through friend of our friends, like lobbies merged, whatever, we met. And then I private messaged him because he was, a baller. And so we just started messaging, and from there we decided to meet. We met in Maine, and
We just had a really good weekend there.
yeah, that was a great
It
weekend.
was a great weekend.
And
From there on, we decided I would come see her again. And when was that?
yeah,
It was-
so June is when we met each other in Maine, and then he came back to visit around Halloween time.
Yes, kind of our Halloween.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
And then after Halloween, we decided Christmas.
Yeah.
So Christmas time frame rolls around, what was it, like 3 days before Christmas or something? It was really close.
Yeah, it was actually, it might have been the 23rd.
Yeah.
I think it was the 23rd.
So, for everyone, he is in New Brunswick, or he's from New Brunswick, Canada, and I am from, well, at the time I was living in North Carolina. So, New Brunswick is like north of Maine, and you just keep going. So, he drove from New Brunswick down to Maine, the border, and when he was trying to come through, they couldn't handle it. And he left at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you left at like
was
11 o'clock at night. You got to the Maine border at like 2 or 3 a.m.
something like that.
And then they called me, and I was passed out because they need to verify where he was going. And I was passed out, and I don't know, I woke up an hour later.
Yeah, it was. I was there for
A couple hours.
2 or 3 hours. I was at the border.
So he had to sit there because I was passed out. I didn't answer my phone. I finally called them back. I think it was 4 a.m. when I called them back. And they wanted to verify where he was going, who I was, why he was coming to the U.S. They just really, really did not like the idea of him driving. This was all pre-COVID, by the way. Pre-COVID. No COVID existed at this time. And him driving down, they just did not like that. And they said, you have 30 days and you better be back at the border. It was like a cold-hearted threat with a piece of paper, and he had to be back at the border in 30 days.
And it didn't help. I think it was because I didn't have a job, because I just got laid off. I was literally the day before I was working, and got laid off, and then that was like my time to come down and spend some time with her, Christmas, New Year's, and
It would have been nice.
it would have been nice.
To not have like a time limit of 30 days placed on you, because legally Canadians are allowed to visit the U.S. for 6 months.
Right.
So if he wanted to stay the 6 months, he should have been allowed to, but they were too weirded out by him coming to the U.S. that they gave him a 30-day limit.
Yeah. And
That sucked.
It did suck.
Because then we spent a month together, and then we're like, we really don't want to be apart. So we drove. So he drove all the way down. How many hours was that?
It was like I think
22 hours.
something like the total time. Yeah, because I stopped a few times along the way for like rest.
But he drove
Yeah.
straight.
Yep.
Yeah, 20 something hours from New Brunswick, Canada to North Carolina. So anyways, a month passes and we're like, okay, we want to be together. So I said, well, I'll go with you and visit your family, and then we'll come back through, because 30 days had passed his probationary period. He'd proved himself that he can come back to Canada on the time frame that they said. So we drive to Canada. I meet his family, and then we'd only been there for a few days, and then we were coming back across, and I don't know, for anybody out there who's never been inside of an actual border, like a land crossing border, these places are intense.
Yes.
And they are
Very
scary.
intense.
And it's one of the worst memories of my life, because it feels like you're in an interrogation room. I mean, the building itself, so the one in Maine, is like a huge room. It's cold. Their benches are made of cement. It's just...
Yeah, it was pretty awful.
Yeah, it is not... I mean, I get it. You know, they're not trying to make, you know, make you feel comfortable or welcome there. But I mean, to the extreme, like, you are as uncomfortable as you can be, waiting to find out. Oh, they're searching your car this whole time you're sitting in there. They're going through all of your things. They're searching your car. They're asking perfunctory questions. And then they're asking more intense questions. And then that was so miserable. Bless you.
Thank you.
And this was on our way back. Like, I went up with him, we visited Canada, and we're on our way back, and we're in his car, he's driving. They just went through all of our stuff. They're asking questions. They took his phone, went all through his phone, and then proceeded to ask more questions. I had like work texts coming through, because at the time I was managing a business, and I had work texts coming through, and I was trying to respond, and then I got scolded across the room. Like, it's a big room, so they like scolded me across the room that I can't be on a phone, because I'm assuming they thought I was doing something sketchy.
Yeah.
It's like strict rules at the border. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't doing anything wrong, but you can't be on your phone at all.
And part of I think part of the biggest problem that we had is because I'm Canadian and I wanted to go down for a length of time. Like, we said, what did we say we were going for? Like
four or 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it was 5 months.
Trying to stay within like the allowable time, because we want to keep everything legal, because did we file our visa at that point?
No, we hadn't filed.
Okay, so we hadn't quite filed it at that point yet. But I just started working online, and
Yep.
I mean, I still work online. Like, I'm a game dev. I completely work online all the time, remote, and so it wasn't like a problem to support myself or anything like that. But as far as they're concerned, it doesn't look good, and they have it gets a gray area. So there's that.
Yeah, working online is a gray area.
Which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it, because you can go to any other country and do the same thing, and they don't really have a problem with it. But apparently it's not always easy if you admit that's what you're doing. So for whatever reason, that's not really... yeah.
And I was so sure, like, Cody was like a little bit freaked out about going back across the border and getting in and everything. And I was like, no way, they're gonna have a problem with you. In my head, I'm like, it's Canada. And the
True.
US isn't going to be like, no, you can't come through. Like, for what reason can they actually have to not allow him to come through? And boy, was I wrong, because I guess I should have been freaking out a little bit more at the time. So I was wrong, and I totally thought that $4,000 is plenty of money. Like, I even thought, that's not what he would... just
Yeah.
none of this made sense to me because he's coming to stay at my place, so there's no rent. I cook, so there's no need to keep buying food.
I cook too.
I mean, yeah, and Cody cooks too, sorry. I just meant like, I lived by myself at the time. I was already going to do these things, and he was just going to be there to add, to add on.
Yeah.
And they look at it, the American border looks at it as if he's mooching off of me. So he needs to be able to support himself.
Which I could.
I mean, he could. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So,
anyways, at this point, we're in there. They had scolded me for the phone thing. I'm sitting there, and I can't hear everything that they're saying to Cody, but they're grilling him, and they took his phone, and they're asking all these questions, and it's just, nothing was a good sign. So I'm tearing up to the point where tears are running down my face. He comes and sits down, and he's just like, no, I don't think I'm getting through. I'm pretty sure they're rejecting me. And so like, I am doing my best to not lose it because everything in me was like, we're going to still get to spend, you know, so easy. We're going to get to spend at least, you know, 5 more months together. Like we'll figure it out so we can keep being together. But I was wrong.
yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah, it was very emotional. I mean, even I was like, I was shook up at the moment, and I mean, it didn't go very well. And so at that point, I did get rejected, and I had to withdraw my application because that's the generous way of saying, hey, you can't come through, but we're not going to actually put a bad mark on your record. But
they did.
Yeah, but they did. I mean, like, yeah, it's known. Like, you know, I was rejected, and so that's been a constant problem. I actually had problems flying back in to the States this time around to see her and be with her, and that was tough too. But it worked out. I mean, I'm here. We're going to Mexico, and
yeah, but we're not. That's not the rest of our story.
right.
You have
That's
to tell
not the rest of the story.
story.
Yes, getting a little ahead of myself. So at that point, we have basically come to the conclusion that I'm not going down to her house, her home, and then she's not coming back with me because as an American with like a job to do, and she couldn't come back, she like couldn't spend that time away from work. And
I didn't have a car. We were in his car.
She was in my car.
They're telling us, no, you cannot go back into America. And I was like, okay. And I asked him, I was like, so how do I get back to America? And he said, there's a bridge down the road that you can walk across.
Yeah.
And I said, I have to walk back into America? And he's like, yeah. And so,
for a little bit of context.
Mind blown.
Yeah. For some context of location, this is actually like a pretty small, like it's kind of a busier spot, but it's also it's not like the border location is a
in
really
the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a pretty
Let's
small.
Be honest.
It's a small town on both sides, but like there's not really much there, and there's no airports. The closest one was a bus to Bangor, I think.
Yeah.
A bus to Bangor, which was only at the next day at that point. So.
And I had to get back. Like I had to go to work. We thought
we were getting back in time to.
Yeah.
So that was rough.
So they tell us you have to go to this bridge down the road and walk across it. Oh, and it's snowing.
It's winter.
It's winter.
It's January.
There's ice everywhere, and
Canadian
I have
winter.
Bags. Like I have a duffel bag and a backpack, right?
Yeah.
And something else.
Yeah, I think you had originally 3 bags with you, and you actually left one in the car just because you didn't have enough space to take it with you.
Yeah, because I had to walk across the bridge to get back to America because that was my only option.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I walk across this bridge. Like, and this is like 30 minutes after. Like, we park on the side of the road. We're crying. We say goodbye. We hug. And then I walk across this bridge. And I get across this bridge, and I get into the American Border Patrol at this section, and then they have to go through all of my stuff. So they take my bag, and you can hear them ruffling through all of my stuff, which is
stressful in itself.
It's stressful in itself because those all my stuff is in there. Anyways,
Right.
that's not a big deal. Not a big deal. So I have to explain my story, and they're skeptical. They don't believe me. They're just like, you're what? You're doing what? So how are you going to catch a plane? Oh, I had booked my ticket too.
Oh, yeah.
I booked my plane ticket because I just assume I could get an Uber or a cab on the other side of where I walked across. And that's not the case because it was a tiny little town. No cab would take me all the way to the airport, which was like, I don't know, an hour-ish, maybe a little over an hour away from where I was. And I got to the point where, oh goodness, I got to the point where I was gonna just walk to the airport. And I had a big duffel bag on my shoulder, which was uncomfortable, and my backpack. And there was ice everywhere and all this crap. And I was like, and I have American, oh goodness. I have American Signal, Verizon.
Oh, jeez.
And it can't figure out if I am in Canada or if I am in America. So my signal will not catch nothing for nothing. Like I was having trouble calling cabs. I couldn't even contact Cody. And at the time, Cody and I only Snapchatted because we only Snapchatted because that was the easiest way to communicate because our providers didn't really, it cost money to text and stuff.
Oh yeah, and we were always like on the phone together and everything.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so yeah, I'm pretty much now, I've been trying to call cab services. I checked out Uber. Nothing is running. Nothing is going to take me to the airport in Bangor, Maine. And, okay, Pace. And I'm not going to make my flight. I already paid for my flight. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'll go back across the border, get a rental car, and then drive to Bangor. And I walk back across the border.
Yeah.
And I get to Canada, and they're a lot nicer.
Oh yeah.
They're a lot nicer than the American border. Though they were pretty skeptical that I just walked over and walked back.
Yeah.
They believed me. So it was nice. They believed me. So then I get over there and I call Enterprise, and they said,
they just had no cars.
No cars.
No cars.
They'll have a car tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
But my flight was in like 4 or 5 hours from that time frame. Or it was at night or something. It was that day.
Yeah.
And so luckily I get internet, I get enough signal to call Cody, and I was just like, you've got to come back. I'm back in Canada. I need you to come get me. I need you.
Yeah. And I was on my way back, like heartbroken, like I wasn't going down there, and our plan was all different. We had to figure something else out, and so that was quite an experience.
And then he had to come back and get me, and we just sat in the car, and I mean, like, we're just going through it because I walked across the border, and then they searched me, and I couldn't get a cab. I didn't have signal. When I went over to the US, I was stuck. I went over to a gas station when I got to the other side, and like people were giving me dirty looks, and they were like, nobody would help me. Okay, Paisley. I'd ask questions, and everybody was like, you want a cab? You want this? You want that? And I was like, okay, guys. Apparently not too many people walk across this border. But anyway.
To get to Bangor, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm back in Canada. They let me back through. He comes back and gets me, and I'm,
and then we
get a hotel.
Yeah.
We just go ahead and get a hotel because we know I'm going to have to go back across the border the next day, and I'm just going to have to figure it out. We went and got a hotel. It was actually really nice. What was the name of that city?
It is St. Andrews, I think.
St. Andrews.
Or somewhere around St. Andrews. I don't know if it was specifically that one, but it was right there in that general area.
And it was on the water.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, the room was beautiful. Our view was beautiful. It was really nice. It was kind of like
the dead of winter, but
it was the dead of winter.
It was nice.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like the view almost made up for all of the
craziness.
Yeah.
It was a nice night. We went to the grocery store.
Got a cake.
Got a cake. That was nice.
That was nice. And basically, worked around our problems of to put them off to the next day.
Yeah.
And then we figured out you could take a bus.
Yep. We figured out there was a
And-
bus, but it only ran at a certain time of day, so I had
twice a day, I think. Once in the morning and then once. I think.
Well, it only went once a day
once.
because it would go
Yes.
there and then it would have to come back. So
Right.
it only ran once. So I had to be back across the border by like 8 or 8:30. Now, so I have to do this again. I have to walk across the border again. So he drops me off. I go over. I know the routine now. I've already done this. I go over there and now they think that I'm some kind of drug mule because why would somebody do that? Why would somebody walk across the border and then walk back and then walk again? It made it made no sense to them. Like, they were upset. They had me sit in this time. They had me sit in the office for an hour, and I was gonna miss my bus. I was gonna miss my bus to the airport, and luckily they let me go in time. I kept telling them, I was like, I'm just trying to make the bus to go back across. I was truthful. I told them the story. They just didn't care.
Yeah.
So they finally let me out of there. And then I had to walk, and it was a ways away from there. Like, I had to walk down the road to this grocery store and stand in the middle of a parking lot and fingers crossed that there was going to be a bus that showed up, because I'm just going off of an internet flyer that Luna's right there. An internet flyer that says the bus is going to run at this time. This is how much it costs. Like, you pay cash to the bus driver and then they take you. I mean, it was just something I'd never dealt with before. And it was really weird to us. It might not be weird in other areas of the country, but it was
maybe.
new to me. I was all by myself. Like, it was just an experience. So the bus shows up like 30 minutes late. Great. And then I get on the bus, and this was the ricketiest, raggediest freaking bus ever. I mean, I couldn't think. I couldn't hear myself think. I couldn't think a thought. I mean, every pothole and all these roads in Maine are just terrible. And I guess it's from the weather. I'm from the South, so I'm not used to all this.
I'm used to all this.
And he's used to all this. I'm not. And I mean, everything on this bus is rattling and shaking, and I'm bouncing and shaking, and it's just miserable. I have my headphones in, but I can't. It's just so loud. And then we make these stops, and then a police officer gets on and checks the bus and goes through all this stuff. Like,
Forgot about that.
It's just the weirdest thing. And I got Stinky McStinkerson in front of me waving his pits on the thing, trying to make conversation with me, and another guy over here just bitching and rambling on about nah 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 nah. And I was just like, I cannot wait. I mean, what should have been an hour, I think took us 3 hours to get to this freaking airport. And we finally get there, and the airport is like this big, and I got patted searched. That was great. I got patted down, searched, going through TSA. Why? I don't know. I didn't throw a sensor off, so at this point, I'm basically in tears, because it was like, I'm getting emotional talking about it now. It was just, it was a train wreck through and through, and just getting patted down at the last thing that could have happened. It was just like the straw breaking the camel's back.
Yeah.
And
It was a time.
It was a time. I got on that airplane, and I had a connecting flight, I think, in Newark, and then I was back in Charlotte. A friend picked me up, and then I was home. I wish it was that simple, but it was not that simple.
No, it was such a difficult situation all together.
Not to mention, it was breaking us up.
Yes.
That I 100% thought we were going to be together for the next several months at the very least.
I hoped. I mean, I was hoping for that. Like, I didn't want to be wrong or worried about it, but it just it just seemed too good to be true.
It was.
It was.
So the main reason that we found out that he really couldn't get through the border was because he didn't have any substantial ties. So if you are trying to go through land border, I know right now with COVID,
It's
not
closed,
a thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's closed right now. But in the future, if you do this, if you meet somebody online in another country like we did,
Yeah.
and you want to meet each other and you want to drive, or you're just doing it for funsies, whatever,
Having property or something makes a difference.
having a tie, like having a job that's like a brick and mortar,
Yeah.
is very helpful. They like to call people, so they like to call and check to make sure.
Yeah.
They like to take your phone and go through things. So if you're doing anything sketchy on your phone, you better erase it before you get to the border patrol. And money. So gobs of money is very helpful if you're trying to do any extended period of time
Yeah.
in another country.
At least for an apartment also would work. Just something that like you're committed to, you
Yeah.
own or need to be back or whatever.
A lease agreement. Yeah, that would have been good. He'd just
I had
gotten
just gotten out of my lease because I was just like, well, I'm gonna move back in with my grandparents, save some money, and then I was planning on going down there for a while. So I was just like, why would I need an apartment? I mean, it's just a waste of money for nothing. And so yeah, that was apparently a mistake, but you live and learn.
Yeah.
If I had kept it, it would have been fine. I probably wouldn't have any issue. I would have been like, yeah, I have an apartment. I got to go back to it at some point. I mean, it's my name on it. It was only my name on it, too, at the time. So, I mean, just like her apartment only had her name on it.
Yeah. Well, that then led to, from there, we filed our I-129F form, and that's the fiancé visa. Shortly after the visit prior, we decided we wanted to get married.
Yeah.
And so we, after this whole trip, we filed our I-129F form. And that started the process of basically allowing him to come to America so we can get married and, so we can get married. Yeah, so we can get married and be able to basically say that he can legally live here.
Yeah, it's a whole process of trying to proceed forward without being illegal, essentially.
Yeah.
And there are a couple other methods, but we took the one that would have given us the quickest time frame to get back together, which was the whole goal. And
And by quickest, we mean 6 to 8 months.
At the time.
At the time, they said 6 to 8 months, and then
COVID.
bada bing, bada boom.
COVID happened at the worst possible time for us. And it's just like, it's bad obviously everywhere, but like for us specifically, it completely prevented us from being able to see each other. And so as time just kept on ticking by, they stopped doing the COVID the applications. And so we're just sitting there like, we don't know what's going on.
Oh, yeah. So we submitted that right before we actually left each other.
Yeah.
So January, we got it in. I think it was like January 16th. We got our application in. Like they received it then. And then June rolls around. And this was June during the COVID.
Yeah.
Like the COVID, like out the high points. And we got a notification from the NVC, the National Visa Center. Yeah. National Visa Center. And they said, oh, you have been accepted, and we're sending it. Or no. The USCIS.
Yeah,
something like that.
That's it. USCIS.
USCIS sent it, and they said we're sending it to the National Visa Center. Allow up to 4 weeks. I think it was like it should be processed within 2 weeks, but allow up to 4 weeks, and then it'll be sent to his
Montreal
stuff.
consulate, supposedly.
Yeah. So 4 weeks pass, and nothing.
Yeah.
And then 4 more weeks pass, nothing. We can't. Everything starts shutting down. Everything is shut down by that point. I think it was like end of July, and everything was just toast.
Something like that, or even earlier. I think in some places in Canada specifically, we had shut down quite early on.
And the only notification we got was, we're closed. We'll let you know when we open back up when we're processing. So
Which didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still hasn't happened. We're still just completely... That's why we're going to Mexico in the first place.
Yes.
It's just because this visa process is not going, and I don't want to end up becoming kicked out or illegal or something, so that we can actually potentially come back here if we want to.
Okay, so we wait the 4 weeks, nothing happens, and at the time I have been running, well, I'd actually been working for the same company for 10 years, and I had been running this location for a few years, and it's actually been my whole world and my whole life for such a long time. But after COVID happened and there were the layoffs and the furloughs, I had time to think and really process. And during that time, it was just like an epiphany that I really didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want to be treated that way. It was a corporate lifestyle.
Yeah.
It was horrible, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I made the commitment. I gave a 3-month notice to my location. They actually booted me out a month early. It was really nice of them for the, you put all that time, effort, energy, and years into a business, and you give them a nice long notice because you're planning and preparing and doing the smart and responsible thing, but yet they don't care. No. So they booted me out a month early, and they made it sound all like they were doing it for me. So isn't that wonderful? Anyways, I digress. So at the time, we hadn't received any notification yet. I decided to go ahead and come back home to Florida, see my family, and I did that. I made that move. I have other things. I work online, and I shipped. I do like grocery delivery. So I was doing those things to help get me through till I figure out my next move. And visa still hasn't come in. We're in August. We're in September. Cody has been in Canada since January. We haven't seen each other in 7 months.
Yeah.
And when was it? September, October. October rolls around, and he books a flight and comes to see me in Florida, which was great because we hadn't seen each other in 10 months at that point. So we finally got to see each other, and we barely made it to that point.
Yes. They gave me a hard time coming back as well because it's same thing with working online. It just was kind of, they didn't like that.
The flying U.S. border,
too.
like the air border control. This wasn't land border again.
Yeah,
was he booked a ticket here.
Yeah, and at this point, like, that was still a way that Canadians could go to America, and I don't know if it's still even like that now, but it was at the time, and quite frankly, it was kind of great for us because, well, we needed to be with each other, and it was getting too much. I mean, we're not like going out partying, or we're not even really social people generally, but we're going out of our comfort zone to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so he made it back. We made it back to each other.
Yes.
I guess in October 10th, his birthday.
Yeah.
To be specific.
That was kind of one of the things we wanted to use to get me here. It was just kind of like a, what would you call it?
Like a reason for being here, traveling?
Yeah. I was thinking more like, a reason for traveling. It's, can't think of a better word for it. So that was great. And honestly, I've been great. Happy being here, and it's so glad to be back together. But it's been stressful though.
Now it's January.
It's still January.
So it's January now.
Yeah.
2021.
Still no more word.
No word on our visa. Our visa center opened back up. The NVC is open. And they tell us that the Montreal
is processing.
No. They said they're closed.
Oh, yeah.
They keep telling us that they are closed, that the Montreal, what is it called? Consulate?
Yeah.
Consulate is closed. But the consulate is open, and we have documentation from the consulate talking to us that we sent to the NVC, and they just respond back and say, the consulate's not open, we'll let you know, blah, 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 blah.
So they won't, they won't tell us an update. We don't know what the status of our application currently is, like what happened to it. We don't know what's going on. Supposedly there was a login that I could use to actually view the application, but I couldn't get back into that, and I used to be able to, but it's since been like I don't know, locked or unavailable or currently missing. I can't figure it out. And I've tried contacting them for support, and they just give us the same response that the Montreal consulate is not processing it. And that's it. They won't tell us anything else. So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
And we've been told that there is another option, that there is
Right.
a escalate option, that we can request an emergency escalation, but I don't feel morally right about it. He doesn't feel morally right about it.
Plus,
We're figuring out how to be together.
right.
But the thing is, like, we could technically escalate this, but I feel like that should be used for dire situations. Neither one of us are in a health related situation where
Right.
we're like, we have to be with each other. We just want to be with each other because we love each other,
Right.
and we want to be together. And that, to me, I assume that they don't consider that
No.
an emergency
Probably not.
or an escalated reason. Whereas, we've read about serious and really sad stories where people are stranded and they need to be together, and those are the people that deserve the high escalation. So that's how we're leaving that part out, just because we feel that's the right thing to do. We shouldn't escalate it because we don't deserve to cut in front of anyone that most likely needs it more than we do.
Right. Especially since we are capable and willing to do whatever we need to
Yeah.
be together, and that involves going to Mexico.
Going to Mexico.
Yeah.
So that's how we came about our trip to Mexico, is that it is the cheapest. We also have our dog, which it's hard to bring pets to other countries. It's very stringent things that you have to do. Mexico doesn't have that standard. All right, so we chose Mexico because of the affordability. Cheap.
Yeah.
It's cheap. And the pet import, that we could technically drive our vehicle into Mexico if we need to. We're not going to. We're going to fly in. But I think once we get settled, we're going to go back and get our car, at least one of our cars,
Yeah.
and drive that in to Mexico so we have a car while we're there. And yeah, that's the biggest reason. Also, they're letting us come.
Right.
Because so many countries are closed to the possibility of an American, not a Canadian, but an American, because our cases are so high here that I have limited options as to where I can go.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of countries that are just like no visitors unless it's
For like specific purposes,
Yeah.
certain situations like doctors or
family member sick, things like that.
or like embassy stuff, or really specific important cases.
Yeah. So we're going to Mexico. This is why we're making the story. This is way out of our comfort zone. To start with, when we first decided to go to Mexico, he was very, very scared.
Yes.
That was not, it was, yeah. And then I ended up slowly starting to get worried. Excuse me. And then we started doing research. We started watching YouTube videos. We started learning, and we decided on Mérida because it is one of the safest places actually in North America. So we found out the reason why, which is a funny story for another time, but it's kind of a crazy story why it's one of the safest places. But yeah, we're excited, and it's actually happening in 12 days, and we're gonna start documenting our life in Mexico, because maybe somebody else wants to leave America or Canada, or maybe you meet somebody in a foreign country and you need somewhere to go so that y'all can continue to be together and not have issues. We may end up actually just making the move to Mexico as a whole to live there, and not really ever come live in America again, more like visit our families and go to Canada and visit our family, things like that. But we don't know.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning of our adventure, and we really wanted to document it. We want to share it. If anyone else is going through something, if anyone else has thought about Mexico but they're scared, or they think it's scary, we're going to show you what it's like. We're not going to gonna fluff it up or
Yeah.
make it to seem to be something else. Because in all honesty, we've been scared of
Yes.
the idea, and it took a lot of researching to think that this is gonna be great. And we're excited, and we hope you come along for our adventure and give us feedback. Let us know if there's places you want us to check out. If you live in Mexico, where we should go, or you've been there. Like, we're open for travel and fun, and we're getting outside of our comfort zone. We're getting outside of our comfort zone doing this.
Yeah.
This is way out of our comfort zone.
And we don't plan on being unsafe either. Like, we're not here to...
Oh, yeah,
we're
we're
not
not
going to Mexico to spread COVID or nothing like that.
No. We're super safe. We're
Yeah.
safe here in
Yeah.
America. Florida, if anybody lives in Florida or knows about Florida, nobody cares here. We care.
Yeah,
I
we
care.
It's scary.
It's scary. And everybody's walking around here with no mask, and they've been doing that since the start. And Florida never really shut down, maybe for like 2 weeks. And other than that, it's just been a free-for-all here. So we are excited to share our story, and we appreciate if you stuck around this long for the video. We really appreciate it.
Yes,
If you
we
could
do.
press subscribe, that'd be pretty great.
Yeah, follow
maybe
our
a
story.
like.
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe you didn't
Yeah,
like
whatever.
it. We gotta
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah, that's right.
Somehow.
Tell us
Tell us what
feedback,
you think.
Anything.
We're trying.
We're trying.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for watching, guys.